Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be working on my 2013 Honda CRV. And you can already tell there's been one upgrade. I replaced the wheels and tires. These are just a set of wheels off of a 2017 to 2020 CRV. They made a big improvement in the appearance of my LX that came with the 16-inch steel wheels from the factory. So today I'm going to be showing you how to take your CRV from looking like this to like this, and it's not quite as hard or as expensive as you may think. So obviously what I'm talking about is a front end conversion. I'm going to be replacing the grille and the headlights to make this look like a 2015 or 16, even though mine's a 2013. So the 2012 to 2014 was like the first iteration of the Gen 4 CRV. Then Honda always does a mid-cycle facelift, they call it, where they change some things. They also changed the rear tailgate, some of the trim, but that's not as easy to do because they actually used a different tailgate with different glass. But on the front end, the bumper is different down here where the fog lights go. But most of the body lines are the same, and believe it or not, it's not that hard to replace just the grille and the headlights. So I sourced my grille and headlights aftermarket. You could buy junkyard parts. I wanted some nicer, newer parts. You can see my factory headlights. They actually don't look too bad, but I'm going for the much better improvement in the projector headlights of the touring model. So I'm going to have projectors, and I'm also going to be doing an LED conversion at the same time. And they have the daytime running light strip, as you'll see. And then the grille just overall just looks better to me. It kind of gets rid of this 3-bar look and goes to the more modern appearance. I really like the look of the 15 and 16 CRVs, but in 2015 is when they switched to the CVT transmission. And although it's not a bad transmission, the 2.4 with the 5-speed was really a pretty bulletproof combination, and that's what I'm trying to stick with. To me, it's not worth the extra couple miles per gallon to buy the CVT. I don't really like how it feels when you're driving it. All right, so the first step is we're going to pop the hood, and then we're going to remove the grille assembly. Basically, you can see there's these push-style clips. There's one here, there's one here, and then we don't need to worry about those. We'll take out this one and this one. And then the grille is basically snapped in. So I've got like a cat claw type tool like this. Kind of pull the middle out, and you can see it just comes right out when you pop the middle up. So make sure you set those somewhere where you're not going to lose them. You can also use a flat blade screwdriver if you don't have this tool, but if you're going to be working on a Honda, you really want to have one of these. I'll just put it that way. Any car for that matter, but. All right. You can see we're a little bit looser here. Like that. But it is just held in with clips. All right, just real quick. The new grille that I purchased did not come with the Honda emblem. I bought one separately, and I'll have the part numbers for all this obviously in the description. But you can reuse the one off of this grille. You just have to get these little retainers off the back, and it will come right off. So just something to keep in mind. Mine is got a little bit of pitting on it, so that's why I went ahead and just purchased a new one. All right, if you've ever taken the bumper off a Honda before, this one's really no different. It's not hard. It's just there's a few steps involved. So our little trim here has got to come off. And then there's a couple screws underneath, a couple push clips to get the trim back. And then the bumper is basically just held on with these retainers and the headlight, and you just have to pull it off once you get the screws out on the side. That's really the only thing that holds the bumpers on. Sometimes on the bottom, there'll be a couple of bolts. So I'll check that out here in just a second. Just turn the wheel a little bit. Alright, so you don't have to take it all the way, just enough that you can get, as you can see, to this screw right here. There's this screw that's holding. Remember, this is going to be the exact same procedure on the other side. So I probably won't show you the other side, but it is, as you can see here. That's really all there is, holding the bumper on up top here, at least. All right, so underneath the car, there's a series of the push clips that go all the way across, and on both sides, there's this 10mm bolt. You gotta go slow with it, it's usually rusty. And that should be all we need to get the bumper off. What you have to do is just carefully pry apart the bumper from the body, because it's kind of held on with these like one-time use plastic parts. All right, so I just gently, you can see these little tabs I just pried up on. You can see now this whole side of the bumper is off and ready to come loose. That's actually as far as we need it to go to get the headlight assemblies and the grill out, but see if I just can't do the same thing over here on this other side real quick. All right, so with our bumper removed, now would be the time to add some fog lights if you want to put some fog lights on. Like if you have an LX like me, personally, I'm not going to be doing that, so not worried about that. So, all right, moving on. So now we are ready to start removing the headlight. So basically it's held on in 5 million spots, but up here there's this little rubber cover. There's a clip under here that needs to come out, and then on the front of the vehicle there's a 10mm bolt. Make sure you can see where I'm pointing. Down here there's one right here. That should be all that's necessary. Oh yeah, and then there's one right over here. It's basically, it's bolting this whole, this is the bumper support bracket / headlight bracket, and it's bolted to the bottom of the headlight, and we're going to be removing all of this as one piece. Alright, so they really don't want you to get the headlights out. Give them credit for that. Without breaking stuff. Basically, there's these plastic clips along the side, but you can see I broke one of them. That clipped into here. It's like Honda used the headlight as a structural component of the front end of the car. Alright, so now we're on to the other side. Alright, so I just kind of set the headlight in place for a second, but we're not ready to put it in yet. So the kit that I ordered from eBay, it's pretty nice. This is actually that part that bolts to the bottom of the headlight. So the kit that I ordered on eBay included the grill and the bumper attachment assembly right here. So if we look, zoom you over here to the old headlight. It's the part that goes on the headlight, and to me it does look like it is a slightly different piece of plastic, probably because the headlights are obviously different. So I'm glad I ordered these. I wasn't sure if I would need these or not, but it looks like I will. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this part to the headlight first, and then I'll set the headlight in place, and then I'll cover what we need to do as far as wiring, because it's completely different, and we're going to make our custom harnesses. Oh, and the kit I ordered on eBay, I guess there'll be a link. They included all these plastic clips that we just broke. They included a whole bag of them. So kudos for that. It was a great price for everything too. All right, so it looks like that just fits around there, like I said. Kind of on the one end, kind of snaps in place, and then down here, we'll take the bolt out of our old assembly, and we'll put it in here to secure that bracket to the bottom of the headlight. So I'll touch on the headlights that I bought real quick. Obviously, the best thing to buy would be the genuine Honda OEM headlights, but they're upwards now of over $1,000 per headlight. I don't think you want to spend that kind of money to do this conversion. So for about $300 or less per headlight, get this Depot brand, and they are an OEM manufacturer, and that's important because, you know, if you get just junk headlights, which I don't even know if you can get junk headlights in these touring ones, but you want them to be CAPA certified, which means it's an organization that certifies that the part meets or exceeds OEM specifications. So that way, I've used this brand many times in the past. It's lasted years. They don't just fade. Depot, TYC, those are some of the brands that I've had really good luck with in the past. So that's what you want to look for right there. And obviously that brand. That way you'll know you're getting a quality part if it's not going to be the Honda OEM one. All right, so I'm getting everything fitted up here. The one place we're going to have a clearance issue is right here. So let me pull this back a little bit. Looks like we're going to have to cut this piece of plastic. It's just this little shroud on the radiator. It doesn't actually do anything. And I'm just going to snip it back and snip this back right here. And that's just so this can come in and bolt where it needs to go. Alright, so to me it still appears that this little grille support is going to be slightly in the way. I have to trim that off a little bit more, but I'll get to that here in a few minutes when we get to that step. Got this secured up here. Our new headlight assembly is in place. Alright, so parts list will be in the description for the video. Morimoto LEDs, that's optional. Completely optional. But now's the time to switch to LEDs. These are my adapters. And well, they're not adapters. What these do is these prevent any kind of radio interference in the vehicle from the LED headlights. So those actually, I always use those when I use LED headlights. I've got a couple of 9005 connectors. These will be used to connect to the high beams on here. These are H11 connectors. This is for the low beam. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take the factory headlight harness, and there are 3 wires in here. In this one, there's a ground, there's your high beam and your low beam. We're going to split the grounds to run to, you know, the negative side of the high beam and the negative side of the low beam. And then we're just going to run the high beam to the high wire, the low beam to the low wire. It's just basically going from having 1 bulb to 2 separate bulbs. Now, if you do not do anything else, you will still have your 30% DRL on the high beam in your new headlight. I do not want that because we have this very nice LED projector now that we're going to be using. Okay, so how we make that work is we had to order these 2 other harnesses. Now, one of these is for the turn signal. So this is how we're going to adapt the turn signal. We will just wire, I gotta remember which one's which. Both these harnesses that you'll get, the order from the links that I sent, they're the same or similar. The only difference is back here on the back, the spacing for the plug, there's a little bit lower there and in the middle there. So the one that's the turn signal, one wire will be, you know, your parking light, one wire will be the high power light, which is like your turn signal, and the other will be a ground. And on your DRL, they're only going to use 2 wires. You'll want a plus 12 volt source when the car is turned on, and a negative. Okay, so we're going to get our negative probably all from the same spot on here. And obviously, you know, you can use the negative on your turn signal here. We've got another wire for a marker light, which is the same thing that pretty much just won't get used. Or what I will probably use the marker light for is I'll take the negative and I will use that for the DRL. Then I'll run a separate wire to a 12 volt source that's turned on when the car is running. And our best bet to find that's going to be over on the other side in the fuse panel for the engine area. So I also bought these right here, optional. These will plug right into the factory plug here. That way you don't have to cut the wiring up in case you ever want to go back. But unfortunately, that's, you know, I'm going to be cutting the wiring up, so I might just not even use those. I might just cut this off. I'm not planning on ever switching back, so not worried about that part of it. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get the other headlight put in. I'm going to get the grill put on. I want to make sure that everything lines up where it needs to line up before I start cutting wires. So I just want to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be doing as far as the wiring goes. All right, so over here on the passenger, or on the driver's side, I'm going to try to show you what needs to be trimmed. So again, I need to take out this clip. Okay. And then what we're going to do, that's kind of in the way now. You can see where it's making contact right here. So just like the other side, I'm going to cut it. Just got to cut it out of the way, essentially. So it doesn't take a whole lot to cut it. I kind of got the headlight in my way on this side, so. All right. So that should allow the headlight to fit now. Yeah, it should be good. I don't know if you can see, but we're cut just around the assembly there. I'm gonna get some bolts. We're gonna start bolting the headlight in. All right, so now we're gonna move back to the bumper for a minute. I told you we have to remove all the clips, and then there's 2 screws holding this lower grill piece on. All right, so there's that piece. Got it off of there. I'm gonna get the new lower support. All right, so this new piece goes on just like the old one came off. So it uses the screws at the end. All right, so I just snipped off the little half of the piece on there because it doesn't really do anything. Hopefully that will be enough. Looks like it will to get me where I need to be here. All right, once you get the sides put on, I'm gonna start getting this clipped into place. You can see there's like a gap. We're just gonna have to kind of pull this together. And this all really was not made to work together, but we're making it work. When it's all done, you won't even be able to tell. All right, so this is not quite as easy as I thought it was gonna be. Looks like this whole thing here has to come off. I'm not sure if it's because I'm not using genuine Honda parts or because it's just not meant to fit. Let's see what's going on. I'm sure it at least fits where it's supposed to go between the headlights here. Alright, so I'm getting it. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's just the fact that I'm using these aftermarket cheaper parts, but you can see I've got a gap where this sticks out on both ends right there. The bumper is pushed into where it's supposed to be. It's that way on both sides. Obviously, I'm not too happy with how that looks. So I got to come up with some way to kind of try to fix that. All right, so as far as the bumper goes, just put all your clips back in the bottom, get your side put back together, your trim put back on, and then we're going to address the front here and then the wiring. We're going to get this top put into place here. It's kind of got this weird painted finish on it. Doesn't really match the car. There's that. Let's go ahead and move our plastic now. Kind of see how this, make sure the hood shuts right. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of heat and I'm heating this up right about here. And then while I'm heating it, I'm going to apply pressure here. Alright, you can see, so it worked on that side. And it's also worked on the other side. See, it's a lot better than it was. I think I'll do just a little bit more to try to get that in there. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is attack our turn signal. So I pulled the bulb out. This connects to here like this. So if we're looking at it this way, this wire on the left, which in my case is a yellow wire, that is going to be connected to, on the passenger side, the green wire. This is from our turn signal. There's a green wire on that side, and then over it's the outer wire, and then on the passenger side or on the driver's side, it is a brown wire. Okay, so it's a brown wire over on the other side. The middle wire, which is black, goes to the black wire on here, and then the white wire goes to the yellow wire. And on the other side of the car, it is also yellow. Okay? So, the colors don't match up, but the black wire goes to the black wire. So that should kind of make it a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off about right here. And then splice in this connector. Actually, I'm going to have to add in a little bit more wire. Because, see, the key is this has to reach over to where our new turn signal bulb is going to be, which is in a completely different spot. It's way over in the corner. So I'm gonna have to add a length of wire to make that happen in this case here. All right, so got it all wired up and in some loom. So looks completely factory. You would never know that this wasn't factory. So that is our turn signal. All right, so as far as the daytime running lights go, if you're looking at the wire like this, the yellow wire is our positive wire, so the middle wire, and the black wire is the negative wire. And then this one will not be needed. All right, so to get a 12-volt ignition source for our daytime running lights, believe it or not, there's not really a good spot to grab it under the hood that I'm aware of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it under here. So on my LX, there's this connection right here, okay? And it's perfect because I can stick a female spade terminal right on it. That turns on when the vehicle powers up. So what I'll do is I'll run a wire to this. I'll put a fuse on it, put a 5-amp fuse on it, and then right here is the grommet that goes out to the engine compartment. So I'll try to see if I can poke a wire through there and just come right here and get it hooked up. All right, so once we've got our turn signals and our DRLs wired up, the last thing is the high beam and the low beam headlights. So like I said, I'm going to be using these little 9003 connectors here. You can see. So on this connector, the black wire, or on the right, is your negative. And on the top, the blue wire, the top there, is the low beam. And the red wire is the high beam. So basically, real simple. I'm going to take, here's my 9005 connector. I'm going to connect the red of this to the red wire here, and the black to the black wire there. And then I'm going to take my H13 connector, which connects to the low beam bulb. I'm going to connect the red wire to the blue wire and the black wire to the black wire. And we'll do that for both sides. And then if you just want to use the regular halogen bulbs that come with this, you just plug the H11 in, you're done. If you want to do the LEDs, just one more step. We're going to connect the LED module in the middle there. All right, so if you just wired it up, like I showed you there, basically the headlights, your low beams would be your projectors, and your high beams would come on when you flip them on. The way that these lights are actually intended to work, though, is when you turn on your high beams, the low beams should stay on. And unfortunately, you know, obviously this generation of CRV is not wired that way. So when you flip the high beams on, your low beam headlights will turn off. Obviously, we want as much light put out as possible. So how we're going to overcome that and how we're going to make it so our headlights, our low beams stay on when the high beams come on. All right, so how we can accomplish this is we can take a large diode like this and basically tie it to where when our high beams are on, which is the red wire, that the power will flow also into the low beam circuit, okay? But it will not be able to flow back the other direction. When the low beams are on, it cannot come into the high beam circuit. All right, so here's what it looks like soldered in. So you've got your input to the diode right here, and the output, which is the negative side, flows back into our low beam headlights. So now I will cover all of this with liquid electric tape, keep the water out, and then, kind of tape this all up real good. All right, well, that was the last connection, that DRL. So we're up and running. It's got the full light test here, everything going. Now all I need to do is aim the lights, make sure they're good. So I have to wait till it gets dark. Real simple to aim your headlights. Probably not gonna be able to see down in here, but there's little adjusters. Just use a Phillips head screwdriver, reach down in there, and you can basically make an up and down adjustment for your cutoff pattern on your low beam headlight. Besides that, we are good to go. All right, so the last thing I need to do is to disable the daytime running lamps. And this is especially important if you wired it like I did with the diode to where the high beam will turn on the low beam, because the DRLs running will activate your low beam headlights all the time in a lowered state, and it will just mess the whole system up. So all you have to do, it's really simple. If we look under the dash, there is a fuse panel right under there. And we look right here, 21 daytime running lights, 7.5 amp. We just need to pull that fuse real quick. All right, so under the hood, and there is this fuse puller. So again, we're looking for number 21 There's little numbers under all of them. So you want that one. Just yank that out of there. All right, so as far as functionality goes, when we start the car, see the daytime running lights come on. They should. And if we just turn on the low beams, you can see our LEDs, and then turn on the high beams, you can see the low beams now stay on. If you wanted to do an upgrade to LED high beams in the future, it's something you could do quite easily. They're just 9005s. All right, so real quick, I'll show you what the cutoff looks like at night on the road. But if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video if it helped you out. Subscribe for more. There'll be more CRV videos. Again, there's links in the description below to everything that I use to do this conversion. Until next time, we'll see you later.